Imagine holding a single penny in your hand, worn, ordinary, tossed around for decades in pockets and piggy banks. Now imagine that very penny could be the ticket to a fortune so staggering, it could change your life forever. One coin, 1 cent, a simple 1980 Lincoln penny, without a mint mark, that has shocked collectors and investors by reaching values close to $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A coin worth less than a stick of gum suddenly commanding prices that could buy you a mansion, a luxury car, or fund your retirement. How is that even possible? And more importantly, could you already have one sitting unnoticed in your home right now? The story begins in 1980. The Lincoln Memorial Cent was already a familiar face in America's pockets. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln Cent had been minted for decades, and by 1980, billions had been struck. But here's where the plot thickens. That year, something slipped past the watchful eyes of the U.S. Mint. A subtle error, a missing detail so small most people never noticed it, yet so rare it would eventually send shockwaves through the coin-collecting world. That missing detail? The mint mark. Normally, a penny from Philadelphia in 1980 would carry no mint mark, which in itself wasn't unusual. But the difference lies in the details of certain striking errors and die varieties that appeared that year. Some pennies emerged with anomalies invisible to the casual observer but magnetic to collectors. These so-called error coins are like hidden treasure maps disguised as pocket change. And when rarity collides with demand, values skyrocket. Now think about this. Collectors don't just want coins. They want stories. They want mystery, rarity, and the thrill of owning something almost no one else has. And the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny delivers exactly that. A handful of coins from this era exhibit strange doubling on the lettering, unusual striking errors, or surfaces that appear unlike any ordinary penny. Combine that with the fact that these are over 4 decades old and increasingly scarce in pristine condition, and you have the recipe for a modern gold rush. But here's the twist most people don't realize. Some of these coins, when graded at the highest levels of perfection, have shattered expectations. Not just a few $100s. Not just a few thousand. We are talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, with valuations rumored and reported in the ballpark of $979,000. Imagine scrolling through an online auction, seeing a penny, a single cent, commanding nearly $1 million hammer price. Sounds insane. It sounds impossible. And yet, for those who know what to look for, it's not just a fantasy. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your spare change? Not just glanced, but really studied it? Because if you're like most people, you've probably let countless coins slip through your hands without a second thought. And yet, in those everyday transactions, someone somewhere has unknowingly spent a fortune disguised as a penny. Here's where it gets more exciting, or terrifying, depending on how you see it. These valuable pennies aren't always sitting behind glass in a museum. They're out there, circulating, lurking in old jars, dresser drawers, or coffee cans filled with loose change. You may have even handed one over at the grocery store last week without realizing it. That thought alone should give you chills. But what makes one 1980 penny worth $1 million while another is worth exactly 1 cent? The answer lies in condition, certification, and error specifics. Professional grading services examine coins under intense scrutiny, awarding the rarest and most flawless examples with high grades like MS-67 or MS-68. Each grade leap can double, triple, or multiply the value exponentially. A coin that looks ordinary to you could be hiding imperfections or perfection that only the trained eye can see. And in this game, perfection pays millions. Picture this. A coin graded as nearly flawless, showcasing a striking anomaly, sells at auction. The room buzzes. The numbers climb higher. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and finally nearly $1 million. The hammer falls and history is made. That's not a fairy tale. That's the reality of rare coin auctions today. Now let's break the tension for just a second. If you're wondering, why would anyone pay that much for a penny? Well, ask yourself why someone would pay millions for a painting, a baseball card, or a vintage car. Value is born where rarity meets passion. And in the numismatic world, collectors are not just buying coins. They're buying the thrill of exclusivity, the bragging rights of owning something so rare it borders on mythical. And here's the part that should keep you on the edge of your seat. The market is hotter than ever. Baby boomers, Gen X, and even younger investors are diving headfirst into collectibles as safe havens. Inflation worries, stock market swings, all of these fuel demand for tangible assets like rare coins, which means that penny sitting unnoticed in a box could be more valuable today than at any other point in history. So what should you do right now? Simple. Don't ignore your change. Don't dismiss those old coin jars. Search them. Study them. Because the opportunity doesn't just belong to professional collectors or insiders. It belongs to anyone willing to take a closer look. And here's the haunting question you'll carry with you after this video ends. How many fortunes have already slipped through your hands, unrecognized, unnoticed, spent for nothing more than a stick of gum or a morning coffee? The 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a symbol of hidden wealth, a reminder that unimaginable value can hide in plain sight. Somewhere out there, someone is about to stumble upon the find of a lifetime. The only question is, will it be you? Keep looking, keep searching, and never underestimate the power of a single penny. Because in the world of rare coins, even the smallest detail can make you a millionaire overnight. And that, my friends, is the true value of paying attention. You see, coins have always carried a bit of mystery. Some are minted in vast quantities, forgotten as quickly as they are spent. Others slip through the cracks of history, hiding rare secrets that only the sharpest eyes can uncover. And then there are those that become legends because they shouldn't even exist. The 1981 no-mint Mark penny is one of them. At first glance, it looks just like every other copper-colored coin you've handled thousands of times. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile stares forward. "In God we trust," arches above, and the date reads clearly, 1981. But something is missing. Something that should never, under any circumstance, be missing. The mint mark. That tiny letter, a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, which tells you where the coin was born. On this penny, it's gone, vanished, and that absence changes everything. How could a mint mark just disappear? Here's where the story takes a shocking turn. During production at the United States Mint, an error in the die, or in rare cases, intentional oversight, can lead to a batch of coins missing crucial details. These so-called error coins slip past inspectors, escaping into circulation where they hide for decades in jars, piggy banks, and dusty drawers. Most errors are small, worth a few dollars at best. But when a coin this rare surfaces, the value skyrockets. Collectors whisper about it in forums. Auction houses gasp when one appears. And the price tag? Today, a pristine 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent has been appraised at an astonishing $975,000. Nearly $1 million for a single penny. Let that sink in for a moment. What could you do with nearly $1 million found in your change jar? Pay off your mortgage? Retire early? Travel the world in style? This is where the dream begins to feel real. And the best part, you might already own one without even knowing. Now, here's the cliffhanger. The 1981 no-mint Mark penny isn't the only coin out there with such shocking hidden value. It belongs to a secret league of coins that ordinary people mistake for junk, only to discover they're sitting on a life-changing fortune. So the question becomes, could you be holding $1 million secret right now? Let's rewind for just a moment. Why 1981? Why not any other year? Well, that year was pivotal. It was one of the last years the Lincoln cent was minted in predominantly copper before the switch to cheaper zinc in 1982. That alone gives the coin historical weight. Combine that with a vanishing mint mark, and suddenly you've got the perfect storm. Historical importance, extreme rarity, and collector obsession. A trifecta that turns a penny into a gold mine. And don't think you need to be a seasoned numismatist to spot it. The beauty of this coin's error is its simplicity. All you need is your own eyes, maybe a magnifying glass, and the patience to look closely. But here's the catch. Thousands of people will hear this story today, and every single one of them will rush to check their collections. The question is, will you check yours before it's too late? Because when coins like this hit the open market, they don't sit around waiting. Collectors battle for them. Prices spike overnight. One coin sells for 6 figures, and suddenly everyone is desperate to find the next one. Timing is everything. Now let's break the tension with a little reality check. What are the chances you'll stumble across this coin? Slim. But here's the twist, you don't need to find the one mythical penny to strike it rich. The world of coin collecting is full of overlooked treasures. Doubled dies, off-center strikes, rare mint errors, and transitional metals. People toss them aside every single day, not realizing they've discarded thousands, or even millions, of dollars. So, the question isn't just, do you have the 1981 no-mint mark penny? The real question is, how many treasures have already slipped through your fingers? That thought alone should be enough to send you running to your old jars and coin folders. And here's where the urgency comes in. Coins are like hidden lottery tickets. They don't last forever. Once they're found, they're snapped up by wealthy collectors, locked away in private collections, and never seen again. Imagine the regret of realizing you had the chance, but missed it. So tonight, after this video ends, I challenge you, empty that drawer, open the piggy bank, dig through the coffee cans in the garage, look at every single Lincoln cent from 1981, because one tiny missing letter could change your life forever. And if you don't find it, don't lose hope. Every search brings knowledge, and every coin you study makes you sharper. The real secret is that opportunity always hides in plain sight, waiting for the one person willing to look closely enough to seize it. A penny worth nearly $1 million. A story hidden in copper. A chance at financial freedom resting in the palm of your hand. The legend of the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln cent isn't just about money. It's about possibility. The possibility that wealth doesn't always come from where we expect, and sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest rewards. So ask yourself one final question. Will you let this just be another story you heard online? Or will you take action, search your coins, and maybe, just maybe, find the penny that could change everything, because the clock is ticking, and fortune favors those who look. Tonight, we're diving into one of the most shocking discoveries in American coinage. The 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. A coin that looks so ordinary, you've probably touched one 100 times without even realizing it. But behind its unassuming face lies a story of mistakes, secrets, and unimaginable value. Now let's rewind. The year is 1982. Gas costs just over $1 a gallon, Michael Jackson has just released Thriller, and the US Mint is making a seemingly simple change, transitioning the Lincoln penny from solid copper to a cheaper copper-plated zinc. It was a cost-saving move, nothing unusual, or so it seemed. But that year, a perfect storm of confusion, experimentation, and human error led to one of the rarest modern coins ever struck. Here's where it gets interesting. In 1982, 7 different varieties of Lincoln cents were made. Some were copper, some were zinc. Some had large dates, others small dates. And then came the mistakes. Coins struck without mint marks, coins with double dies, and coins that slipped past inspectors entirely. Among these, one particular variety, the 1982 no-mint mark copper cent with a small date, became legendary. Why? Because it shouldn't exist. Officially, the US Mint never intended to strike this coin. And yet, against all odds, a tiny handful escaped into circulation. Each one is like a lottery ticket hidden in your pocket change. Now here's the part that stops collectors dead in their tracks. In pristine condition, this unassuming penny has sold for jaw-dropping sums. Not hundreds, not thousands, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. The most famous sale? A staggering $969,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a single cent. Pause for a second. Think about that. 1 cent, designed to be the lowest value in our entire currency system, suddenly worth more than most people's houses. Isn't that almost poetic? But before you go sprinting to your coin jar, let's uncover what makes this coin so dangerous to overlook. First, the weight. The copper version weighs 3.11 grams, while the zinc version comes in at just 2.5 grams. If you've got a small digital scale, this tiny difference could mean the difference between pocket change and a life-changing fortune. Second, the date style. On the small date version, the 2 in 1982 curves delicately, and the 8 has a more subtle shape compared to the large date. These tiny details are the clues that separate a fortune from a fake. And here's a twist. Countless fakes are out there, crafted by people who understand the stakes. That means if you think you've found one, authentication is everything. Only professional grading services can verify its legitimacy and certify its value. Because let's be honest, would you really want to risk selling $1 million penny as just another coin roll find? Now, imagine the emotional roller coaster. One day you're counting pennies to pay for coffee, and the next day, an expert tells you that the coin in your hand could pay off every debt you've ever had, buy you a new car, or even fund your retirement. It's the kind of discovery that turns ordinary people into legends in the collecting world. But here's the catch: coins like this don't sit around forever. Every year, more are being discovered, graded, and locked away in private collections. Each one that surfaces reduces the odds of another being found in circulation. That means the window of opportunity is closing. The longer you wait, the slimmer the chance of stumbling across the jackpot. So ask yourself, have you really looked closely at your change? At the dusty jars in your attic? The piggy banks in your garage? The rolls of coins sitting in forgotten boxes? Because the next story of someone cashing in a penny for nearly $1 million could be yours. And if you think this is just about one coin, think again. The 1982 no-mint mark cent is just the headline act. The world of error coins is filled with secrets. Double strikes, off-center errors, rare minting variations. Each one a potential treasure hiding under your nose. But the 1982 small date copper? That's the crown jewel. The coin that proves miracles can still happen in the most unlikely places. So here's the bottom line. Right now, the market for rare coins is hotter than ever. Collectors are paying record-breaking prices, and demand is only growing. That $969,000 sale isn't the ceiling. It's the floor. With every new discovery, the spotlight grows brighter, and values rise higher. Which means if you've been dreaming of a wealthy lifestyle, of escaping the grind, of turning something ordinary into something extraordinary, this could be your moment. Every fortune starts with a choice. Will you dismiss that jar of pennies as worthless? Or will you take a closer look and possibly uncover the treasure of a lifetime? Somewhere out there, another 1982 no-mint mark copper small date penny is waiting to be found. The question is, will it be in your hands? Or will someone else walk away with your $1 million miracle? If you've been inspired to search, don't wait. Pull out those coins tonight, because tomorrow someone else might beat you to it. And when you hear the next headline about a penny selling for over $1 million, I promise you, you'll wish it was your story being told. So start searching. Start dreaming. And remember, sometimes the smallest things can carry the greatest fortunes. Something so small and insignificant that most people wouldn't even bother to pick it up off the street. But what if I told you that one of those very pennies, minted in 1983, with a single, almost invisible error, could be worth not hundreds, not thousands, but up to millions of dollars? That a coin you might have shoved into a jar years ago could hold the power to completely rewrite your financial future. Sounds unbelievable, right? Stay with me, because the story of the 1983 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is about to shake everything you thought you knew about pocket change. Back in 1983, the United States Mint made a change that would unknowingly spark one of the most sought-after mysteries in coin collecting history. Pennies, which had been made from solid copper for over a century, were switched to a cheaper copper-coated zinc composition. Harmless enough, or so it seemed. But hidden in that transition were rare mistakes. minting errors so elusive that entire rolls of coins had to be studied to find just one anomaly. Imagine the shock of collectors when they discovered that some of these 1983 pennies carried a doubling effect on the date and lettering, errors known as double dies. To the untrained eye, they look like any other coin. To those who know what to look for, they are treasures in plain sight. Here's the kicker. One of these tiny copper-plated discs recently sold for a jaw-dropping $969,000. Yes, almost $1 million for a single penny. Now ask yourself, how many 1983 pennies have you handled in your lifetime? How many might still be sitting in old drawers, coffee cans, or forgotten piggy banks right now? Could one of them be the key to financial freedom you never saw coming? Before you run to cash in your spare change, let's peel back the layers of this mystery. First, the mint mark. Typically, coins bear a small letter under the date, showing where they were minted: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. But in 1983, some pennies were struck without a mint mark at all. Combine this with the double die errors, and you have a perfect storm of rarity. It's the kind of coin that turns everyday people into instant millionaires. But here's where it gets even more chilling. Most Americans who have held one never realized it, and countless fortunes have slipped through unsuspecting fingers at grocery counters and gas stations. Think about that for a moment. How many hidden fortunes have been spent as loose change simply because someone didn't know? How many people missed their shot at life-changing wealth because they didn't take a closer look? The thought alone is enough to keep you up at night. Now, I know what you're thinking. All right, but how do I know if I've got one? The signs are subtle, but unmistakable once you know them. Look closely at the date, 1983, and at the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." On error coins, the letters appear doubled, as though shadowed. It's not wear and tear, not damage. It's a minting mistake, frozen forever in metal. And that tiny error is the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth nearly $1 million. Here's the suspenseful twist. The number of verified 1983 double die pennies is painfully small, fewer than a handful confirmed in top condition. That scarcity is what fuels the frenzy. Every year, more people are scouring through rolls of pennies, chasing the dream. Some succeed, many don't. But isn't the possibility itself worth looking? After all, people spend fortunes on lottery tickets, where the odds are stacked against them. Here, all it costs is the time to check your change. And let's not ignore the psychological side. Imagine telling your family, your friends, that you became wealthy not from a business deal, not from years of grinding at a job you hate, but from a single penny. Imagine the look on their faces when they realize your luck came from something they all dismissed as worthless. That's the power of knowledge, the kind of knowledge you now hold. But let's crank up the urgency. Coins like this don't just hold value forever. The market shifts. Collectors fight tooth and nail for the best examples, and prices rise and fall like waves. Right now, the buzz around rare cents, especially transitional years like 1983, is at a fever pitch. The longer you wait, the more likely it is that someone else, maybe even your neighbor, will cash in while you're still wondering if you should bother to. So here's the reality check. Every jar of coins in your home could be a ticking time bomb of value, waiting to explode. Every penny you spend without looking might be the $1 million mistake you'll regret for the rest of your life. Do you want to risk letting fortune slip through your fingers? Or are you ready to take action? Because here's the final truth. Ordinary people are cashing in. They're finding these coins in old boxes, in circulation, even in pocket change from the grocery store. And when they do, their lives transform in ways most of us only dream about. Luxury cars, early retirement, financial security for generations, all unlocked by a coin everyone else ignored. The question is, will you be one of the ones who looked closer, or one of the ones who let destiny pass them by? Now go check your change. The future you've been dreaming of might just be staring back at you in the form of a humble 1983 penny. Imagine holding a simple penny in your hand, a coin so ordinary most people wouldn't even bother to bend down and pick it up off the ground. But what if I told you that one of those humble Lincoln cents, minted in 1960 without a mint mark, could be hiding errors so rare that collectors are willing to pay staggering sums for it? Not just hundreds, not just thousands, but up to millions of dollars. And here's the real shocker. One of these coins has been valued on the market at an astonishing $999,000. Yes, a single penny, worth nearly $1 million. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? But history proves otherwise. The 1960 Lincoln cent, struck in Philadelphia, appears harmless enough. No mint mark, just Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. But lurking beneath its copper surface are secrets that only sharp-eyed collectors have spotted. Double dies, repunched dates, design anomalies, errors so subtle that the untrained eye dismisses them as imperfections, while experts know they can transform a common penny into a life-changing windfall. Now think about this. How many jars of old coins are collecting dust in attics, garages, or even tucked inside dressers across America? How many families are sitting unknowingly on fortunes disguised as spare change? Could one of those jars be yours? But before you rush off to dump your coins on the counter, you need to know the truth. The 1960 no mint mark cent has multiple varieties: small date and large date. The small date versions are already rarer, but when you add in errors like double dies or striking mistakes caused during high production runs, the value can skyrocket. Some coins that look nearly identical to the naked eye could be worth a cent, while their rarer twin could sell for 6 or 7 figures. Imagine the heartbreak of handing one over to the cashier for bubble gum, when it could have bought you a mansion. So here's where the story takes a twist. In 1960, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies. Machines ran hot, dies wore down, mistakes slipped through. Collectors call these mint errors, but you should think of them as golden tickets. The tiniest doubling in the numbers of the date, a misplaced mint mark that shouldn't exist, even a slight variation in lettering on Liberty. These details are the difference between a worthless penny and a jackpot. And here's a question worth losing sleep over. What if the coin in your change drawer is one of the lost $1 million cents, and you don't even know it? Auction houses have confirmed it. Private sales have whispered about it. The market is real, and collectors are chasing these coins with relentless hunger. A 1960 no mint mark cent with a rare error doesn't just command a premium. It ignites bidding wars. $999,000 has already been placed as a market value benchmark. That's more than most people's mortgage, their retirement plan, and their children's college fund combined. And don't assume the value is capped. With each passing year, pristine examples vanish into private collections. Rarity increases. Demand intensifies. Prices surge. What sold for thousands a decade ago now brushes against millions. If history repeats, today's $999,000 coin could be tomorrow's $5 million record breaker. Now picture this: you bring a dusty jar of coins to a dealer. He sifts through them, tossing aside nickels and dimes, until suddenly he stops. His eyes widen. He stares at your penny, flips it over, peers closer under a magnifying glass. Silence fills the room. And then he says the words that change everything. Do you know what you have here? Your ordinary life is no longer ordinary. But let me break the tension for just a moment. Because here's the humorous truth. While most of us can't even keep track of where our car keys are, some lucky collector misplaced a penny worth nearly $1 million. The irony? The next time you check under your couch cushions, you might just find more than spare change. So the question is not whether these coins exist. We know they do. The question is whether you will find one. Before someone else does. Here's your call to action. Your wake-up bell. Go check your old jars, your inherited boxes of coins, the change rattling at the bottom of your purse or glove compartment. Because the clock is ticking. Every day, another one of these treasures gets scooped up by sharp-eyed collectors. Every day, another chance slips away. And when you think about it, there's a reason so many people chase these coins with such obsession. It's not just about the money. It's about the thrill of discovery. The idea that something so small, so overlooked, could completely rewrite your destiny. That's the magic of the 1960 Lincoln cent, so the next time you see a penny lying face down on the sidewalk, don't just walk past it. Don't laugh it off as worthless. Pick it up. Look closer. Because fortune doesn't always come in gold bars or lottery tickets. Sometimes, it hides in copper, stamped with the year 1960, missing a mint mark, and carrying secrets that only a chosen few will ever uncover. And if you find it, well, you won't just be holding a penny. You'll be holding a piece of history, a miracle of chance, a key to a new life. So ask yourself, could your $1,000,000 penny already be waiting in your hands? In 1961, millions of ordinary pennies rolled out of the U.S. Mint, unnoticed, uncelebrated, and destined for pockets, piggy banks, and dusty drawers. But hidden among them lies a secret so powerful that a single coin, no bigger than the tip of your thumb, could be worth more than most people's homes, cars, and retirement accounts combined. Imagine holding a penny that the world dismisses as worthless copper, only to discover it has a shocking value of nearly $1,000,000, and in certain conditions, even more. Now here's the kicker. These pennies aren't marked in a way you might expect. The 1961 Lincoln cent without a mint mark seems painfully ordinary at first glance. No dazzling shine, no obvious clue. And yet, this tiny coin has been quietly rewriting financial dreams for collectors who stumble across its rarest versions. If you've ever wondered whether the loose change rattling around in a forgotten jar could make you rich beyond belief, stay with me. Because what you're about to learn could turn your next trip to the couch cushions into a treasure hunt. Let's go back to the beginning. It's 1961. John F. Kennedy is president, the space race is heating up, and the mint is producing billions of Lincoln cents. Most were minted in Philadelphia, which didn't use a mint mark at the time. To the average person, they were all the same, just plain pennies. But here's the twist. In the chaos of production, mistakes slipped through. Strikes doubled, details blurred, and hidden errors crept into circulation. These flaws, invisible to the untrained eye, transformed ordinary coins into multimillion-dollar rarities. Think about that for a second. A factory error that most would overlook could be the difference between 1 cent and financial freedom. It's almost poetic. The very imperfections of these coins make them perfect investments for collectors. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. One of these error coins was recently valued at an eye-watering $993,000. Yes, that's almost $1,000,000 for a single penny that most people wouldn't bother picking up off the ground. But don't get too comfortable, because this story gets darker. Most people who own these coins have no idea. They've been lost in attics, slipped into vending machines, or sold for face value at yard sales. Imagine the pain of knowing you traded away a retirement fund for a cup of coffee. And yet, it happens every single day. Which makes me wonder, could you be sitting on one of these fortune-making coins without realizing it? Before we reveal the telltale signs to look for, let's pause for a reality check. Not every 1961 penny is worth a fortune. In fact, most are worth 1 cent. A little disappointing, right? But here's the pattern interrupt. That's exactly why the rare ones are so valuable. Scarcity creates desire, and desire drives collectors to pay astronomical sums for coins that break the mold. You don't need a jar full of them, just one. One coin with the right hidden error, the right strike, the right condition, and you've rewritten your financial destiny. Now let's talk errors. The most famous is the double die. Look closely at the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." If you see shadowing, doubling, or a strange blur, that's not your eyes playing tricks. That's money, serious money. Another error to watch for is off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing or shifted. And then there are repunched mint marks, die cracks, and lamination errors, each with its own shocking value. Collectors pay more because these mistakes are living pieces of history. They prove that perfection is rare, and rarity is priceless. But here's where the story takes another suspenseful turn. Condition is everything. A beat-up 1961 cent with an error might fetch hundreds, maybe thousands. But a pristine, uncirculated specimen? That's where we leap into 6, even 7 figures. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC authenticate and grade these coins, and a top-tier rating can skyrocket value overnight. Picture this. The difference between a coin worth a few $1,000s and a coin worth nearly $1 million could come down to a single scratch, so let me ask you. When was the last time you looked closely at the pennies in your pocket? Most people won't bother. And that's exactly why the opportunity is so extraordinary. Those who pay attention, those who take the time to examine, those who send their coins to be graded, they're the ones cashing in on the hidden fortune that everyone else walks past. Now, before we reach the climax, here's a revelation that might give you chills. The current market has collectors hungry, desperate even, for these error coins. Prices have surged, with rare 1961 no-mint Mark Lincoln cents reaching nearly $993,000 in verified sales. And the demand isn't slowing down. Every year, more coins disappear into permanent collections, driving the scarcity and the value even higher. What's rare today will be rarer tomorrow. And here's the final twist. The window of opportunity is closing. Once these coins are found, graded, and locked away, the chances of stumbling across one in your change become nearly zero. That's why the urgency is real. If you've ever dreamed of stepping into a wealthy lifestyle, of turning the mundane into the miraculous, this is your wake-up call. Don't just watch this video and shrug. Check your coins. Look for the signs. Send them to be graded, because the next headline-grabbing sale could be your coin. The 1961 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent is more than a piece of copper. It's a symbol of hidden wealth, of overlooked opportunity, of the staggering truth that life-changing fortune can be hiding in plain sight. Some see a penny. The wise see $1 million story waiting to be told, so the question is, what will you see the next time a 1961 penny passes through your hands? Will you ignore it, or will you stop, look closer, and seize the chance that could change your life forever? The treasure is out there, and it may already be in your pocket. Sounds impossible, right? But tonight, we're diving into the shocking truth about the 1962 Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark. A coin that hides jaw-dropping secrets, errors that most eyes miss, and values so outrageous they've left collectors stunned. By the end of this story, you'll never look at spare change the same way again. Now, let's rewind the clock. The year is 1962. John F. Kennedy is president. The Cuban Missile Crisis has the world on edge. And in the middle of all that tension, the U.S. Mint quietly produces over 2 billion Lincoln cents. Most of them, completely ordinary. But hidden among them are mistakes, anomalies, and rare survivors that defy the odds. And they've turned into treasures worth more than most luxury cars, houses, or retirement accounts. Here's where things get really interesting. The no-mint Mark Lincoln cent from Philadelphia looks, at first glance, exactly like every other penny. Same copper shine, same portrait of Lincoln, same memorial reverse. But under magnification, some of these coins reveal flaws that can multiply their value hundreds of thousands of times over. Double dies, misstrikes, off-center strikes, and planchet errors. Tiny quirks that collectors treat like buried treasure. And if you're thinking, well, my pennies all look normal, pause for a moment. Because the truth is, some of the rarest 1962 cents look deceptively plain. No glaring mistakes, no obvious scratches. Just the absence of a mint mark and a subtle imperfection only a sharp eye can catch. Imagine holding one in your hand and not even realizing you're gripping a six-figure fortune. How many times have we all let one slip through our fingers? But here's the kicker. These coins aren't just hypothetical. Auction houses have seen shocking sales. A pristine 1962 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent, flawless in its preservation, commanding prices up to $989,000. That's right, a penny fetching nearly $1 million. Think about it. A coin meant to buy a stick of gum in 1962 could now buy a dream home in cash. So what makes them so valuable? It's the deadly cocktail of rarity, condition, and collector obsession. The 1962 penny was struck in massive numbers, but time, circulation, and neglect destroyed the vast majority. The few survivors, the ones with sharp details, know where, and hidden errors became legends. And legends, as we know, come with a price tag. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not just glanced, but studied them? Because while everyone's chasing quarters and silver dollars, the humble penny might be the ticket to financial freedom hiding in plain sight. And here's the cruel irony. Most people who had one spent it decades ago on a newspaper, a candy bar, or maybe a phone call. They'll never know what slipped away. Imagine being the person who discovers one today. Imagine the jolt of adrenaline when you realize the coin you've been keeping in a jar for years could erase your mortgage, send your kids to college, or bankroll that life of luxury you've always dreamed of. It's not just money. It's a once-in-a-lifetime stroke of fortune. But here's the danger. Opportunities like this vanish fast. Collectors know what's at stake, and every year, fewer and fewer of these coins surface. That means the ones still out there could be sitting in your house right now. And if you don't look, you'll never know. So what should you do? Start searching. Pull out those old jars, those dusty drawers, those forgotten boxes of coins from your parents and grandparents. Get a magnifying glass. Check the date. Check for no mint mark. Look for unusual details. Doubling in the letters, off-center designs, anything that seems off. Because what looks like a flaw to most people could be the very sign of fortune you've been waiting for. And here's a thought that will keep you up tonight. What if you've already held one, already spent one, already let a fortune slip away without realizing it? The difference between an ordinary penny and $1 million treasure is smaller than the width of a human hair. That's how razor-thin the line is between mischance and life-changing discovery. Now you know the truth. The 1962 no-mint mark Lincoln cent isn't just a coin. It's a time capsule, a mystery, and for a lucky few, a ticket to unimaginable wealth. The question is, will you dismiss your pennies as pocket change? Or will you be the one who digs deeper, pays attention, and uncovers the treasure hiding in plain sight? Because in the end, it's not about the penny. It's about the possibility. And possibilities like this don't wait. They don't announce themselves. They hide quietly until someone curious enough, bold enough, and determined enough decides to look closer. And maybe, just maybe, that person is you. The year is 1963. John F. Kennedy is president. The world is on edge with Cold War tensions, and Americans are dropping 1-cent coins into vending machines without a second thought. Millions of Lincoln cents were minted that year, most of them in Philadelphia, which meant they carried no mint mark. To the untrained eye, they all looked identical, common, ordinary, forgettable. But beneath that ordinary copper shell, a select few carried mistakes, errors, and quirks so rare that today they're valued in the hundreds of thousands, and in some cases whispered about in the millions. Now, you might be wondering, how could a tiny error on a penny transform it from pocket change into a fortune? Here's where the story gets gripping. Some 1963 cents left the mint with double dies, a subtle doubling of letters or numbers so faint you might miss it unless you know exactly what to look for. Others were struck off-center, leaving part of the coin blank. And then there are the shocking anomalies, coins struck on the wrong planchet, or blanks intended for foreign currency. These aren't just mistakes. They're golden tickets, hiding in plain sight inside jars, dressers, and piggy banks across America. Think about it. For decades, families have tossed these pennies into drawers, children's collections, or old coffee tins, never realizing one small error could carry a value greater than their car, their house, or even their retirement account. And here's the kicker. One of these elusive 1963 no-mint mark cents is currently making headlines with an estimated market worth of $985,000. Yes, a coin that was supposed to buy a piece of candy now has the power to change someone's life forever. But let me pause for a moment. Ask yourself, have you ever gone through your old change? That jar on the kitchen counter, the shoebox in the attic, the drawer that hasn't been opened in years. Could you be sitting on a small copper time bomb of wealth without even knowing it? Imagine the regret of tossing one away, only to see the headlines the next day. 1963 penny sells for nearly $1 million. Now, here's where things get even more chilling. The vast majority of these rare error coins are still out there, hidden among billions of ordinary cents. Every day, more of them disappear as people spend them unknowingly or worse, toss them into coin machines at the grocery store. Each one lost is a fortune slipping through unsuspecting fingers. But if you're still watching, you're already ahead of the crowd. Because knowledge is the first step toward wealth. You now know what most people don't, that a 1963 Lincoln cent with no mint mark might be worth far more than anyone around you realizes. Look closely at the date, the lettering, the rim. Search for doubling, off-center strikes, strange shapes. And if you find something unusual, don't rush to spend it. Get it evaluated. Professional grading could be the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1 million, and here's the suspenseful twist. The highest grade examples, the ones preserved in flawless condition for 60 years, are the real legends. Collectors fight for them, bidding furiously at auctions, pushing prices into 6, even 7 figures. That's why a near-perfect 1963 no-mint mark cent is commanding a current market value of $985,000. Not a rumor, not a fantasy, a fact unfolding right now. So what does this mean for you? It means your financial breakthrough might not come from Wall Street or a lottery ticket. It might come from something so small, so ordinary, you've ignored it your entire life. A penny that could buy you a luxury car, a new home, or the freedom to walk away from work forever. And here's a final thought. Every coin has a story. But the story of the 1963 Lincoln cent is a reminder that sometimes the most life-changing opportunities don't announce themselves with flashing lights or bold headlines. They sit quietly in your hand, daring you to notice. So tonight, before you go to bed, ask yourself, have you checked your change? Or are you unknowingly sitting on a fortune, just waiting to be discovered? Because somewhere in America right now, someone is holding a penny that will make them a millionaire. The only question is, will that person be you? What makes this coin so mysterious? Why are collectors willing to pay jaw-dropping sums? Not hundreds, not thousands, but up to millions of dollars, for something the rest of the world thinks is just pocket change. Tonight, we're going to peel back the layers of this story. The hidden errors, the shocking truths, and the staggering market values that have left seasoned collectors speechless. And if you've ever wondered whether that jar of pennies collecting dust in your attic could be your ticket to a wealthy lifestyle, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you may never look at a penny the same way again. Let's set the stage. The year is 1964. The United States is in a whirlwind of change. Civil rights movements, the Beatles landing on American soil, the nation mourning the loss of President Kennedy. And amidst all of this history, something unassuming is being struck by the billions. The Lincoln 1-cent coin. At first glance, it's nothing special. Copper, smooth, Abraham Lincoln's face, the familiar wheat reverse already replaced by the Lincoln Memorial just a few years prior. But buried within those coins, unnoticed by the public, lurked errors and anomalies that would later become the stuff of legend. Here's where it gets interesting. Unlike other years where mint marks helped identify the origin, Denver with a D, San Francisco with an S, the 1964 cent from Philadelphia carried no mint mark at all. To most people, that meant nothing. To collectors, it meant everything. Because in the process of minting billions of coins, mistakes slipped through. Double dies, misstrikes, off-center impressions. Variations so subtle you might need a magnifying glass to notice, but valuable enough to change someone's life forever. Now ask yourself, what if one of those pennies is sitting in your kitchen drawer right now? What if the coin you nearly gave away at the grocery store is actually worth more than your car, your house, maybe your entire retirement savings? Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? But consider this. Some 1964 Lincoln cents, with the right error, have already commanded values approaching $979,000 in today's market. And experts believe the very rarest specimens, flawless examples with dramatic errors, could easily push beyond the $1 million mark. And here's the shocking part. Most people who own one don't even know it. They toss it into a change jar. They let it sit in a box of childhood trinkets. They never take a second glance. Meanwhile, savvy collectors scour estate sales, flea markets, and old coin rolls, praying to stumble upon the prize that could rewrite their financial future. Let me pause here and ask, if you had $1 million penny in your pocket, would you recognize it? Would you even know what to look for? That's the haunting thought that keeps collectors awake at night. Because the truth is, most fortunes are lost not by thieves, but by ordinary people letting treasures slip through their fingers. But don't worry, the story gets even juicier. Take the case of the double diop verse, where Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions appear ghosted, doubled, like a shadow overlapping itself. To the untrained eye, it looks like a minting flaw, maybe even damage. To an expert, it's a golden ticket. Or the off-center strikes, where the design shifts just enough to make the coin look bizarre, almost like it melted mid-press. These so-called mistakes transform a humble cent into an object of obsession, driving bidding wars at auction houses that end with hammer prices the average person would never believe. And here's the kicker. While the official record shows some of these coins selling for staggering amounts, private sales often reach even higher. That means the coin you could discover might never even make headlines. It could change hands quietly, discreetly, for a sum that instantly turns an ordinary collector into a millionaire. Now imagine this scenario. You're sorting through old change left behind by your parents or grandparents. You're not expecting much, maybe a few wheat pennies, a buffalo nickel if you're lucky. Then, tucked among the dull brown coins, you find it, a 1964 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. At first, your heart doesn't skip a beat. It looks normal. But then you notice something odd. The date seems doubled. Or the words, "In God we trust," appear faintly echoed. You lean closer. Could it be? In that moment, you realize you might be holding a piece of history worth nearly $1 million. That is not fantasy. That is reality. And it's happening to ordinary Americans who take the time to look closely at what most people overlook. But time is the enemy here. Every year, fewer and fewer of these error coins remain in circulation. Collectors are snapping them up, locking them away, and driving the rarity and the value even higher. The longer you wait, the slimmer your chances of ever finding one become. And yet, the possibility remains. That's what makes this story so electrifying. Somewhere out there, another 1964 Lincoln cent with a hidden error is waiting to be discovered. So what does this mean for you? It means that right now you have a choice. You can dismiss that change jar as worthless clutter, or you can see it for what it might really be, a vault of untapped potential. A chance to step into a world where ordinary pennies become extraordinary fortunes. A chance to join the ranks of those who dared to look closer and walked away with wealth they never dreamed possible. The truth is simple. Most people will never find $1 million penny, but someone will. The only question is, will it be you? Check your coins. Search your jars. Look again at what you thought was worthless. Because the next legendary discovery in American numismatics could come from your very own pocket. And when it does, you won't just be holding a penny. You'll be holding a new future, minted in 1964, worth more than gold itself. So, the next time you see a Lincoln cent with no mint mark, don't pass it by. Pick it up. Examine it. Because you might just be staring at $1 million miracle disguised as a simple piece of copper. And those who overlook it will forever wonder what fortune they let slip through their fingers. Would you like me to also craft a short, punchy call to action outro for the script that urges viewers to like, subscribe, and share, in the same suspenseful, inspirational style so the video feels complete?